All right, 7:23. Well, did you know that March is National Quilt Month? Get a load of this, and hey, you know what? It's still cold out, so you can actually have something to do to keep you from getting bored on those frosty Sam Cantro days. And you can be making something to keep warm, too.
And Real Men Quilt. It's not
Real Men Quilt?
Real Men Quilt.
Okay.
So I just want to let you know you might be picking up a few skills today.
Yeah, but put down the quiche fork, right? Okay. All right, so Jen Doyle with Classroom Connections. Quilting, this is kind of an interesting thing. Say a family wants to do a quilt. It's not just, it could be nice to keep warm, but something visually to sort of capture the family history, I guess?
It is. There's a huge controversy whether quilts played a part in the Underground Railroad or not.
With slavery?
Yes. There's huge controversy. You might not have heard of it, but people think they did, and some people think they didn't.
How would they?
Well, they're reading symbols. For example, on the back of this children's book, there's several samples of what the quilts mean. And if you look over at the example over there, you'll notice a log cabin square, and there's a red square in the middle, and that means that's not a safe house
so
that night.
So that wasn't a safe house
so that night.
Oh, interesting.
So they would put out something with a different color in the center over here. If you point, see that little one over here?
Oh, if we move over here, yes. Okay.
So if that was out with other ones, don't stop at that house. But there are other people who feel that that's just that's not accurate
Urban
at all.
legend, kind of a folklore thing.
But I just feel there's something to it. But anyway, there's some wonderful quilt books that I have that you can read with your children. Every Quilt Tells a Story is a workshop I love to give. But if you pick up the first block over here, families can, the log cabin, just pick it up.
This one here.
Yeah, just the top part.
Yeah.
And you look underneath, when you can get started with children, you can start, I'm going to have you set it down over here.
Okay.
You can start children with a process by drawing a straight line on a piece of fabric and start teaching them how to sew in a straight line. Because if you start hitting them with real big, huge projects, it's overwhelming, and mistakes are easy to make.
I would feel overwhelmed, honestly.
It is. So you could start with how to thread a needle. And if we had a lot of time, I could make you do that on the set.
Yeah, we need a lot of time.
And it's very difficult.
Yeah.
So then you start with that, and then you add pieces. Like if you pick up the next part over here, just scoot this up, then there's batting underneath it and flip it.
Stuff.
Right, and then flip it, and then that's the back part. So then a child or a beginning adult can make a pillow, can make maybe a pin cushion, and start small. If you want to get really involved, you can cut it into pieces, and you can start putting together in a patchwork.
More of a mosaic kind of a thing, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Now, do people, I just was guessing this, thinking about it earlier, like my dad was French, of French descent.
Bonjour, monsieur.
God bless you. Anyway, and my mom is Irish, so do people incorporate their lineages, for example, into quilts?
They could, and a wonderful thing to incorporate is, like when you were a baby, I'm sure your mama had some really favorite clothes from you, and so maybe your baby blanket, and so instead of using fabrics that are purchased, take some family clothes, snip them up, and make a meaningful quilt.
So you can keep that memory.
Yes.
Mine were called hand-me-downs, by the way, because I have 4 older brothers and sisters.
So you can see the stages as you go along.
That's true.
Then you can also buy what
So it doesn't have to be that fabric. It could be.
It makes more.
Gives it more texture, more visual.
Yes, and it's more meaningful to the family. And when you pick it up and you start sewing, you start telling the story about when you were a little boy and you fell off your bike and scraped your knee, and this is what happened. And you have stories that you're passing on, or things about your grandma that you pass on. Maybe you have a scrap of fabric from her wedding gown or from a tablecloth. So you're passing on stories.
What a neat idea.
It's just a wonderful, it'll keep you out of trouble. And then over here,
you think.
I think there's another quilt. You can get more involved if you move that piece over here. This is some fabric that's been hand dyed in the middle, and that's it just takes it up another notch. You can hand dye your fabric if you so are inclined. I purchased that, I didn't do it. But you can make, I put the quilt together. This is a small quilt, a runner quilt. And it's just, here's that block that we just showed at the beginning, but it's more of a modern interpretation. So you can do whatever you want. If you want We're just about out of time.
I'm afraid we are. Yeah, I'm sorry. We could talk for hours about this, I'm sure.
Hours.
But will you come back sometime?
Absolutely.
Of course. Some great ideas just to start off with, and of course, people can get in touch with you through Classroom Connections. We have a link to that on our website. Jen Doyle, you're always fantastic.
Thank you.
And just a word to the wise, I don't know anything about quilting, honestly, but if you're going to use clothes, like if they're like mine, wash them. Put them through the wash.
I never thought of that.
Because my kid clothes, if they still existed, probably a lot of blood, a lot of mud, a lot of, I was not a neat and tidy
It's not a
kid.
pretty thing.
Right on.